Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Indeed, we have the satellite confirmation that the oil facility in Crimea was targeted by Ukrainian missile probably. On this photo you can see that several of the oil reservoirs, so tanks, were damaged. Well, it is better to say kaputted totally. This is before and this is after. Clear evidence. Yeah, it is not the Russian oil refinery facility, but still it is very important in Crimea. Speaking about the Russian oil refineries, Ukraine targeted all of those within the range of 1,000 kilometers from Ukrainian border. Some of those facilities were forced to stop the operation. Russia lost around 15% of the fuel production capability, and Ukraine has just started to target those facilities. By the way, most of those are still operatable, so Ukraine still has lots of the job to do. The clarification from the Ukrainian intelligence about the Russian landing ships, today they said not about two of the ships but about the single one, Yamal. It was damaged, as they say, and start to roll on one side. We have the satellite image and probably this is the point of impact of Storm Shadow or Scalp cruise missile. Maybe ship was damaged over here. But I still think that the ship is more or less okay. I don't see it rolling to either of the sides. This is what usually happens with the big Russian landing ships after the Storm Shadow attack. This is the image of the Russian big landing ship Novocherkassk, which was kaboomed several months ago. Different sources from Ukrainian and the Russian side shared the information that Ivan Hurs also was targeted during the recent attack on Sevastopol. We do not have the official statement from Ukrainian intelligence. I wonder where this information came from. Not even the satellite images were presented. This ship, by the way, is very important for the Russian Black Sea Marine Fleet. It is used for the radio surveillance, so it's the spy ship, like AVAX but in the sea. Until we have the confirmation from Ukrainian officials that this ship was targeted, I would consider this information is not truthful. Let's go to the front lines update. For today, Deep State released that there are just minor changes on the front lines. Thankfully, no significant movement from the Russian side in attempt to reach their goals on the east and on the south. Nevertheless, I have the information of what exactly happening on the front lines. Russia continued to attack. For example, in Avdiivka direction near to Tonenki, Russia tried to advance again, even after yesterday's ambushment of their convoy. And guess what? Today they were kaputted. What I spotted recently is that they start to use China-made golf cars for assault operations. The cars without any sort of the armor they use to propel forward, like if they were running on BTRs or tanks. I simply do not have any kind of the words about it. Those cars should be used far, far behind the front lines to deliver supplies basically to artillery, to the Russian army men, but assaults on those kind of the vehicles, it's nonsense. Why am I sure that Russia is doing it? Because we have some of the drone videos. Sorry guys, I had to blur it because of the platform restrictions. But anyways, here I just see a China-made golf car and many of the Russian soldiers in it close to their tank. They were moving forward towards the Ukrainian positions. And yes, the result is understandable. By the way, if you check out my Telegram group in the video description just below, you may see all of those kind of the videos that I'm unable to post on this platform. Guess what? We have two more China-made golf cars, lots of the Russian infantry, and cluster munition from Ukrainian side in operation just on those positions. The Russian military commanders simply do not care about their losses. We see that they give the order to assault on those vehicles. No armor. Again, those are not the assault vehicles. It's crazy. And I've never seen this kind of the attitude just to, maybe it's their goal to waste their soldiers. None of those vehicles is able to reach Ukrainian positions. Mostly they are kaputted with artillery or with the FPV drones. This is a very interesting video, probably filmed near to Crimean. The Ukrainian FPV drone targeted the Russian surveillance drone. Just look. Wow, what a precision. Flying from above and boom. Russia today also tried to advance in Liman direction towards Terny, but their attack was also successfully repelled by Ukrainian army. We have the report that Russia lost one tank and at least 2 of the armored vehicles. Well, usually they lose much more. As for the losses for the last 3 days, Russia lost 143 of the vehicles, Ukraine 34. Unfortunately, Ukraine lost one more NASAMS launcher. But for Russia, there is the record for the tanks probably. All of those are tanks. Baba Yaga was working fine. Baba Yaga is the powerful drone which drops mines, big mortar mines. Sometimes it may drop the anti-tank mine too. It may easily ruin the small building too. I think that Baba Yaga is the most powerful drone our guys use on the front lines. And you know what? It happened just for a single day, the 22nd of March, the 23rd of March over here, and 24th. I'll share it on my Telegram for you to see everything. Serving in the Russian army is the worst job possible. It seems like the Baltic countries are taking the threat from Russia very seriously. The Financial Times published this article saying that Latvian and Estonian presidents are calling NATO members to bring back compulsory conscription. It may point to only one thing. They think that the war is imminent. Well, it's better to be prepared for it, but many of the NATO members will not renew the compulsory conscription to the army. After the war in Vietnam, American generals agreed that conscription is not necessary for professional army. The key factors for professional army are motivated soldiers and up-to-date weaponry. Well, for America, with a population of more than 300 million people, compulsory conscription is not really necessary. But for Latvia and Estonia, it could be. The population of all of the Baltic countries is a little bit more than the population of Ukrainian capital city of Kiev. About Kiev, by the way, Russia attacked the city today using hypersonic missiles. Those are not Kinjals, but Zircons, much faster rockets. Here you can see this hypersonic missile. Definitely it is big and very fast. The main problem for Ukrainian defense with this missile that this rocket or missile has the hypersonic speed throughout its flight. If we take, for example, the standard Russian hypersonic missile Kinjal, which they launched from their supersonic MiG-31 airplanes, this one has a ballistic trajectory, and during the descent, the rocket slows down to the speed where it's no longer a hypersonic missile, and it could be shut down by Patriot systems quite easily. Ukraine has already proved it many of the times. But Zircon is really hard to shut down. Nevertheless, today Ukraine shut down 2 of those missiles. We even have the wreckage of one of those. All of that is the fiber plastic, fiberglass or carbon fiber. One of those missiles hit very close to the residential buildings. Thankfully, no casualties today, but some people were wounded. They delivered to the hospitals. Also, one of the buildings was targeted. It collapsed partially, but again, there were no casualties. The Ukrainian Kharkiv city was also attacked today, and the biggest power plant which supplied the city with electricity are now out of operation. All of the critical equipment of the station was destroyed. Experts say that Ukraine would need years to restore this power plant. So Kharkiv now looks like that. There is no electricity in most of the buildings, and the supplyment of the power goes from the other cities. Blackouts again covered lots of the Ukrainian cities. Russians and Ukrainians continue to experiment with the armor against the drone attacks, mostly FPV drones. This is the T-90M Prorif tank with some of the meshes or grills, and this is the Ukrainian armored vehicle also with meshes. So if your modern tank or BMP doesn't look like that on the front lines, probably it is vulnerable against the drone attacks. Kind of the strange news about the Ukrainian pilot training. Yeah, I missed it a little. Those appeared 3 days ago, but nevertheless I want to concentrate my attention over here. So according to the media reports, Ukrainian pilots successfully completed the basic training on the piston engine airplane in France. For me, it is quite strange, because our guys went for the F-16 pilot training, not on this one. But I guess I know the answer. With many flight hours on MiGs or Sukhois, they don't need this basic training. They could go directly to F-16s, and that actually happened, I'm sure about it. But those guys are the newcomers, so they're going to fly in Ukrainian Air Force. So they train from zero somewhere abroad, in this case in France. We still have the pilot training in Ukrainian schools too, I mean military pilot training, but if you want to operate Western-made jets, it's better to train from zero abroad in the Western Military Flight School to go step by step reaching your fighter jet F-16, or like in this case we see the cockpit of Typhoon, the simulator I mean. Potentially after a couple of years of training they could be type rated on that airplane. So those are not the F-16's pilots, those are, I would say, cadets. But the Russian propaganda already spread the news that Ukrainian pilots needed to start from the scratch because Western jets are very sophisticated for us. No, it's not like that. F-16s will be in Ukraine in several months. Good news, recently many of the cargo airplanes were spotted in Poland. They're delivering some of the interesting cargo. I know about it. Probably some of the shells for Ukraine. Many of the fighter airplanes out there. Kind of the interesting article came from Bild. They say that Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, visited China to stop the nuclear war. So he spoke with Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping told Putin not to use nuclear weaponry. Bild says that after Ukraine went on successful counteroffensive in 2022, Putin had decided to use nukes, and only China, under the pressure of Scholz, stopped him. Well, Bild is kind of the interesting source, I would say. It's really hard for me to believe in that, but I leave 1% that it definitely happened. Meanwhile, the organization, I cannot spell this word on this platform, otherwise it will be restricted. Well, our organization responsible for the attack in Moscow say that they will do the similar stuff in Russia because they didn't like how Russians behaved to their attackers. Well, definitely the Russian FSB are just barbarians. Probably you already know why. Barbarians against barbarians. Meanwhile, the Russian alcoholic Medvedev and the ex-Russian president, by the way, calls to return the death penalty in Russia. I think that it will be done to restrict Russians even more. As a main reason, they will take the recent attack, obviously. What is next? Gulag? Well, I think that those are already in Russia, working. My friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And also, if you want to support my job, you may check out some of the links in the video description just below, as usual. Thank you so much for your kind support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.